This is Blue House Lane in Sunderland in the northeast of England, and it leads from an area known as Cleedon, passes over the railway tracks at what is known as Blue House Crossing, and continues on into East Bolton. If you'd been here on the afternoon of Tuesday the 23rd of June 1891 though, you would have met a man named Joseph Appleby and witnessed a particularly unpleasant event that, in the time since, has been entirely forgotten. Depending on where you read it, 52-year-old Appleby was either a shipyard worker or a carpenter, but he lived about 3 miles away with his sister Mary Ann on Carley Road in Southwick. To those that knew him, however, he had recently seemed somewhat troubled. He'd been drinking heavily for about a week, it was said, but had tried to pull himself together again, and at 9:30 that morning had told Mary Ann that he was going to visit the nearby Bolton Flats area. How he actually spent his day is a mystery, but he arrived in the lane at around 4:45, walked to the eastern gate at the crossing on the train line, and then, on looking along the track, could see that the 4:40 train from South Shields was coming. From inside the cab, meanwhile, driver George Stenning could now see him too. He blew the train's whistle to alert him to stay back, but on doing so attracted the attention of railway worker William Boyd, who, at the time, had been going over the line to see if all was right when he witnessed what happened next. Appleby turned around to face the way he came and waved his hand twice as if to someone down the lane, but it seemed that there was nobody else there. Just as the engine got up to him, however, he then turned back, ran out onto the crossing, kneeled down on all fours and placed his head on the metals. From his position in the cab, Stenning could no longer see him and didn't see what he did, but there was no way he could have stopped in time anyway. When the train hit him, it ripped his head from his shoulders, pulled the rest of his body beneath the carriage, and when Stenning felt a jerk as if he was going over something, he jammed on the brakes. On coming to a stop, he then stepped down from the cab to make a gruesome discovery. What was left of Appleby, he could see, was lying about 20 yards behind the train, face down, outside of the rail, and was smashed to pieces. An inquest, anyway, was then held that Friday in Sunderland's town centre at the Ship Isis Hotel. On the day before he died, it was said Appleby had threatened to do away with himself because someone was telling a lot of lies about him. The jury would declare that it had been a clear case of suicide committed whilst temporarily insane. I'll see you back here next week for another Morbid Monday.